The Cloudflare Pro plan is a great deal for my website. But what if I have multiple websites and it would be too costly to pay for each one individually? Is there a way that I can share just one Pro plan across all of my sites? Hi, I'm Justin. This is C5 Dev, where inspiration is a chain reaction. This video is going to be done in two parts. The first part is going to be why you would want to upgrade to a paid Pro plan in Cloudflare. And the second part is going to be how you can actually share one Pro plan across multiple websites in Cloudflare. If you're already familiar with the Cloudflare Pro plan and you want to just skip ahead to the next section about how to share that Pro plan with multiple websites, the link is in the description with the timestamp that you can click on and jump right to that second part. If you are somewhat unsure, then I recommend that you watch both parts starting with the first one. With that said, let's get into it. I'm at c5.dev, which is my main website, and you can see I don't have too much here, but what I want to show is that this image I have is actually very large, even though on the screen it doesn't show very large. So I'm going to open up DevTools, and if I refresh that, we can see here that it is a 2.8 meg file. And what I want to do is this image, because it is so large, it takes a little bit to refresh. It takes a lot to download on mobile. This would be problematic. So what I should do is actually provide a smaller size for this. But what I want to show is that with Cloudflare Pro plan, I can actually put this website behind that Pro plan and then use their image optimization to make that a smaller size without needing to do too much. So let's go over to the Cloudflare image optimization and just see that they have three options for us. They have the Cloudflare images, so I could re-upload this to the Cloudflare images, and then there they give a functionality in order to resize, optimize. So this would be a good plan, but it will take a few more steps because I would need to upload the image and then point to that location. So for right now, I'm going to avoid that. And let's take a look at the next option, which is image resizing. And you can see there that that is not available to the free plan. And that would probably also be a good option. It looks like it allows us to also resize, adjust the quality, convert images. And that's independently of where they're stored. So I don't need to bring them to Cloudflare. That might also be an option. But then I also want to take a look at the third option, is the Cloudflare Polish. Now this one, you have to have the Pro plan or above in order to use it. But what I really like is this one-click image optimization. So going for the very easy / lazy approach. And I'm hoping that just by moving my Cloudflare plan to Pro from the free plan is going to allow me to enable this and reduce that size. All right. And then quick reminders. So we go back to the application. So it's 2.8 megabytes transfer over the network. Let's see when we upgrade the plan to Pro and then enable that Cloudflare Polish that we actually get a reduced size. Going to go over to Cloudflare. So here is my c5.dev and it's hosted on Cloudflare pages. And you'll notice here that I'm using the free plan. So I'm going to change that. And I'm going to switch to Pro. Select that. Right now, I'm going to stay on the monthly plan. And you can see that the total purchase is $20 a month. That's because I have some other paid aspects on Cloudflare. For most people, if you're starting out new, it's going to be $25 a month. And for me, it will be $25 a month after May 15th. So for right now, I'm just going to go with that. So now I have the Pro plan. That was a pretty easy switch. Going to go back to the documentation to see how I enable that. All right, Cloudflare Polish. I want to activate it. Dashboard speed optimization. Lossy, and then I do want to try this WebP because that format should significantly save some space. All right, so in speed optimization, here is that image resizing. So option number 2 in that documentation, and then polish. And that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to go with lossy and click on the WebP. And then it says purge your cache to have these changes take effect immediately. So I do want to do that. Go back to overview. And up here in the right is purge cache. Let's say purge everything. And then we'll wait 30 seconds as the banner message said. Right after waiting that amount of time, let's go back to the application. And on the site, I'm going to make sure to do a hard refresh, which is where you use the shift key and then the refresh button or F5 in order to make sure that we don't just leverage the cache that is in the browser. And after refreshing, look at that. It now changed it to a WebP type. And at that format, it's only 610 kilobytes. So that worked really well. Now I have another website where I have other images where I again took kind of the lazy approach and didn't resize. So I have this Bountiful Bytes website and I have all these images, and a lot of these are, like especially this one, are much larger than they are displayed. So let's take a look at DevTools. I'll refresh. DevTools is going to look down to where the images start to load. And here I have a couple that are pretty large. So this 4.8 megabytes and then this 1.1 megabytes. So it would be pretty nice to have that on this website as well. But the thing is, if I go over to Cloudflare, where I also have this site registered, you can see it's on the free plan. Now the obvious answer is I could come in here and change this and pay $20 a month for the pro plan, but I really just want the image resizing, and I'm hoping that there's a different way that I can get that without needing to pay an additional $20 a month, since this website is one of my lesser used ones and more of just there for me. But I would at least like it to have the reduced image sizes. So if there were a way that I could somehow share the existing pro plan that I have on c5.dev with bountifulbytes.com, that would be ideal. Luckily, there is a way that you can do this. Now, it is going to require that you set up the free website as a subdomain on the paid website. For Bountiful Bytes, I have this actually deployed as Cloudflare pages. So I'm going to go over to the pages module and then we can make the adjustment there. So what I'm going to do is go over to pages. From here, you can see the domains. This is where Cloudflare pages hosts it normally. And then this is my custom domain of bountifulbytes.com. What I want to do is actually add now the subdomain for c5.dev. So let's check that out by going to this location. And there we go. So now I have Bountiful Bytes at c5.dev, and I have it at my original domain. With the site being on this subdomain, I want to show you that the images are actually smaller. So I'm going to refresh that, and I'll scroll down to the two images that we had before. And so they were this image and this image. This one was 4.8, so it shrank it a little bit down a megabyte. And then this one was 1.1, so that one had a lot of compression on it. So that was real good. And they're in the WebP format. So this is working for our subdomain, but how do we get then my main domain to use that? So if I refresh here, scroll down, you can see it's still in JPEG. So to solve this, luckily Cloudflare does have a couple ways that you can do it. The first is the original way that I had hoped I could do it, and we'll check that out, is their origin rules. With origin rules, it's this DNS record, so overrides the resolved hostname of incoming requests. So that's what we're going to need in order to redirect my Bountiful Bytes into the bountifulbytes.c5.dev. But if we scroll down and take a look, so override DNS records, free, pro, business, it doesn't do that for any of those. It's only available on enterprise. So that's not an option for us at this point. The next option that Cloudflare provides is actually using their worker platform. So taking a look at that, on Cloudflare workers, they allow you to do this bulk origin override. So you can change the requests to any domain that you want. With this, it's going to allow us to have that pro plan on the bountifulbytes.c5.dev actually see that the request is coming from there, and so it'll process that. So I created a repository that actually has my implementation of this, and I will share that with you. Here is the repository that I created, Cloudflare Worker Proxy. Go down to the README section, and here you can see you need to clone this repository or fork it, and then you can clone it. And then we need to update the index.ts to match your desired domains, and then you run this Wrangler publish command in order to push that. Now, what I used is a dev container to actually do this development work in, so you're welcome to do that as well. It might be the easiest way to get this up and running. We'll go up to index.ts. Take a look what I did there. So in this one, this is what you're going to want to change out, is this origins list. So for me, I wanted to route or change the origin from bountifulbytes.com to bountifulbytes.c5.dev. So I only set this up for one of my domains, and I may set up additional ones in the future. But for right now, if you do have multiple, you will put that list here. The target subdomain will be the domain that you have the Cloudflare Pro plan on. So going back to the README, just want to show you that when I ran this Wrangler publish command and I created this Cloudflare origin proxy worker in Cloudflare. So let's take a look at that. In my account, you can see that I created this Cloudflare origin proxy. After deploying it, the part that you need to change is going into the triggers. And in triggers, you need to set up the custom domain. So I have it already set up here for bountifulbytes.com. Set this up for your custom domain of your own. You may already have a DNS entry, and so Cloudflare will warn you that there's already an entry in there. For that, you need to go over to your website and make the change there. So in my bountifulbytes.com website, I'm going to go to DNS. And down here, this part is where I needed to change that. For when I set this up, I actually removed the original CNAME that I had of this Cloudflare worker going to the pages entry, and then had the worker from the worker tab add that in, but you could also add this in manually. Once you have that DNS entry and that trigger configured, then your site will start to route through the Pro plan, and I'll show you the results there. Go back to Bountiful Bytes, and if I do a refresh and scroll down, you can see right here, now I have the WebP versions that I was seeing in the subdomain version of bountifulbytes.c5.dev. So here you can see this one is reduced, so 3.8 instead of, I think it was 4.8. So pretty cool that this now shares the Pro plan, the polished configuration setting. I'm not sure that this will work for all Pro plan settings, but I think this is a good start in that direction. With that process now working, let's just cover some limitations that this approach has versus if I were to pay for a Pro plan on both bountifulbytes.com and c5.dev. The first limitation is now I'm using Cloudflare workers, and so there's going to be the limits set by what you get for the free plan. So on the free plan, you get 100,000 requests per day. I have since upgraded because I'm going to be using Cloudflare workers more for other projects as well. So I have the paid plan, which is $5 a month at the time of recording this. And with that, on the bundled requests, you get 10 million of these. So I think that'll be pretty effective, cost effective for this approach. Now, to make sure that I don't get too many requests that are going to drive up my monthly usage for this, I did set up a web application firewall rule to restrict the number of requests that are able to be made from one IP address. So let me show you that. Back in bountifulbytes.com, my website settings, I'm going to go into security and then the web application firewall rules. And in here, I went to rate limiting, and I set a default value And so I have it restricted that every 10 seconds, there's enough to allow the initial load of the page and some of the navigating around. But then if too many requests are made, it blocks it. So let me show you that web application firewall rule in action. I go back to my site and I do just a regular refresh. Everything's fine. Now what I'm going to do is a hard refresh using the shift key and then refresh. So that loads once. I'm going to do that same thing again, hard refresh. And now it's getting denied. And if I refresh one more time, you can see that it hit the limit. And when the limit hits on the main site, now I get that 429 denied. Now it refreshes every 10 seconds. So if I refresh again, even a hard refresh, the site comes back. The nice part is because of the caching, that if I refresh multiple times without the hard refresh, that because there's only going to be a few requests that actually make it through, you can see that it doesn't restrict or hit that limitation. Since we're in here, the other limitation that you have is because your request is actually going through an additional hop, there is a little bit more latency introduced. And so if I do a hard refresh, you can see looking at here where some of the markers are. So it took a little bit over a second to load. In Bountiful Bytes, if I do the hard refresh, you can see that the total time is shorter. The third limitation that you want to be aware of, and I'm not sure how it'll behave, is because you're actually putting your website now at a subdomain of your main domain for the Pro plan. If the site that you are using has usage of subdomains itself, I'm not sure if a subdomain of a subdomain is going to work even on the Pro plan. I think that may only work with the Cloudflare Enterprise plan. The fourth limitation is that now your web analytics that you would get through the Pro plan are going to have a mixture of traffic from all of your sites that you route through here. As I just showed, using Cloudflare workers to rewrite the origin of the request is a pretty effective way to be able to leverage your Cloudflare Pro plan from one website for multiple websites. There are those limitations that I mentioned, but it is a great way to be able to share some of those pieces instead of having to pay for each one. I'm going to use this approach on some of my smaller websites, and that way they have some of the coverage that is only available in the Pro plan. But if some of those sites do expand their usage and starts to cost more in workers than it would even to just buy the Pro plan, then I will make the transition to upgrade those websites individually. If you like this video or found it useful, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and follow me on Twitter for any updates. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.